than double the number of votes cast during the same period in 2018. More than 400,000 Republicans voted early compared to just under 300,000 people who asked for a Democratic Party ballot. Now, you do have one more chance to vote. That's this Tuesday, May 24th. Voters have several key races to decide this year, including U.S. Senate, U.S. House, and Georgia governor. And be sure to join us Monday night at 7 for filings and company documents show Walker did not found the program. But the Associated Press reports it's not a charity at all. It's an arm of a for-profit hospital chain. Court documents reveal the company has a checkered history treating veterans and reached a $122 million settlement after the Justice Department sued for improperly treating patients. The company denies the allegations. Walker's campaign criticized the report for writing a story about the program. There have been...
It's a pleasure to be here.
Tiffany, thank you for having me back again.
So with the Russian war in Ukraine, seems Beijing is watching that very closely, and it also seems Beijing is kind of developing some new weapons, maybe for future wars, and those weapons seem to be in the AI and unmanned realm. So how do you see this maybe changing the way wars are fought?
Well, I think it's going to have an enormous impact, not just on the way in which the Chinese think about how to leverage their strategic advantage when it comes to what to do about Taiwan. I don't think their goals with regard to Taiwan have changed at all. But if they ever had plans for a full-scale D-Day type of invasion or anything resembling what the Russians are attempting to do in Ukraine, I'm sure that plan is out the window right now. But the overall goal hasn't changed. It's just a question of what's the means by which you bring this about. And one of the most important is to use your advanced technology advantage in ways that will, number one, make it possible to invest Taiwan so that the issue of Taiwan's status as a province of China is resolved once and for all. There is no independent Taiwan anymore. It's just another province of mainland China and will be administered as such. Bad news for the Taiwanese, but that's the goal. The other is to use those same high-tech advantages in order to discourage any bystanders of trying to interfere in the process. And that's what I think we're seeing right now.
Well, it will change warfare radically in some ways, but in other ways, they'll kind of remain the same. First, artificial intelligence combined with machine learning and unmanned systems, be they in space, in the air, on the surface of the sea, under the sea, or on the ground, all have tremendous potential for expanding the scope of warfare, allowing commanders to put machines out in front of soldiers and lives, but also to vastly accelerate the pace of warfare. Artificial intelligence has already made its appearance on some battlefields. For example, the American F-35 fifth-generation fighter aircraft employs a program that takes information obtained by the sensors of the aircraft, compares it to a vast database carried by each of these F-35s, and can categorize for the pilot the most important threats and potential targets. This is a great advance for aerial combat, but it also heightens the pilot's dependence on programs, on databases, and where warfare really doesn't change is that if you understand this, you also understand that the weakness here is the computer program. If you can put somebody inside that F-35 squadron and just take a little flash drive and download a malicious program into the aircraft or into the command center that controls and vectors many of these aircraft, then you can alter the ability of that aircraft to perform its mission, maybe even turn it around or potentially even take it over.
Think about drones. We've been conditioned to think about them as basically single vehicle or single platform technology, like the Predator drones, right, that we used during the war on terror to eliminate targets and terrorists, like the surveillance drones that we have flying over our house or delivering packages, and so on. A single platform that's either guided by a remote pilot sitting in a room somewhere using a joystick to guide it, or one that has an automatic device that guides it to its destination that's built into the software that runs the platform. Swarm technology, on the other hand, is a much more sophisticated, much more complicated process. It's teaching drones how to mimic the behavior of birds in flight or bees in a swarm, or this is why it's called swarm technology. And just as we're always marveling at the way in which birds all seem to sort of fly in a spontaneous formation, avoiding hitting objects and turning and twisting together in numbers that run into the hundreds, right? When you see them, it's an amazing sight. Well, just imagine being able to do that with small drones operating in a similar swarm formation, moving almost simultaneously and spontaneously and twisting and turning in different directions to go out and seek their target. And then imagine each of those drones is carrying a weapon. It's carrying a bomb or it's carrying some kind of lethal device, which it is able to deliver on target. And that is able to, in the process, then overwhelm any defenses that are set up to shoot down one or two or even a dozen drones coming in on the attack, because you're dealing with drones that are now coming by the hundreds in this sort of.
No, we definitely don't have laser weapons deployed yet, but once we do, we'll definitely need this very rapid, accurate, artificially intelligence-driven targeting capabilities.
And Arthur, any last words you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think the last word I would sort of say is, with regard to our competition with China, this is a very serious competition. The war in Ukraine should awaken us to the fact that these kinds of threats, like China's threat to Taiwan, is not theoretical anymore. It's real. China and Russia have real plans and ambitions for global and regional hegemony, and they are not restrained by international law or rule-based global orders. They're restrained by American power and by American deterrence. And if American leadership and deterrence fail, then they will dominate and they will control the future. And we don't want that. No one does.
British, Canadians, and Yanks on Hitler's doorstep within a few days. The cost of our initial landing was but a fraction of what our leaders expected. More than 10,000 German prisoners were captured in the first few days of the battle. Let these pictures remind us that there's still a long road ahead to Berlin. Buy that extra bond today.
Than double the number of votes cast during the same period in 2018. More than 400,000 Republicans voted early compared to just under 300,000 people who asked for a Democratic Party ballot. Now, you do have one more chance to vote. That's this Tuesday, May 24th. Voters have several key races to decide this year, including U.S. Senate, U.S. House, and Georgia governor. And be sure to join us Monday night at 7.